Hey everyone, Tactics here with my Sanguine Depth Advanced Routing Guide focused on Encrypted in Season 3. Just like my previous videos in this series, I'm going to be going in depth in this dungeon, going over the route here in MDT, and of course linking that down below if you want to take it for yourself, talking through some variations, and then walking you guys through our very own run of a Sanguine Depth on a relatively high key level to kind of get a sense and like talk you through the cooldown usage and all the various pulling decisions as we go between each pack. Remember though, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel because of course I'll be putting videos out on all the dungeons in both Season 3 and of course Season 4, Dragonflight and beyond. So make sure you subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you don't miss it. And let's get started here just with the MDT route. So right off the top here, we have the triple pull, and this is a pull variation here. So there is a potential to add this kind of pull with your 10 stack as opposed to doing a pull later on. This pull over here actually. So this is one of the main variations that we've been playing around with. So you do this triple pull, but you could, for example, woe if you don't have a rogue or you don't want to invis pot and then get past here. And what you can do, as opposed to pulling this pack here, which has all those frenzied ghouls, which can be a bit scary for tanks, you can drop these frenzied ghouls, all of them, including the 3-pack here, and just pull this room here with your big urn buff and nuke that down. And this also gives you another relic. So we've been playing around with that. Currently, I'm just going to show you what the route we did in this dungeon, which is this one here with all the ghouls. But that is a possibility, so keep that in mind. And again, in terms of relics, we because we have a rogue or are willing to commit invis pots. But if you have a shroud, or if you don't have a shroud or anything like that, you can use the woe relic to get through here and not pull the sky. Other than that, it's pretty standard all the way to the boss. After the first boss, we have tank go through, get aggro on all these guys and drag it over here. And then we have the actual second urn pull with all these sprites getting pulled onto this urn with this 3-pack there. We do the mini boss pull. Again, this is going to be a shroud for us. This could be invis pots again if you're lacking the rogue. This is a pretty good invis pot. And then you go right in here and you pull this warden pack on top of this mini boss pack. It's actually much less scary than it seems because again, you're 10 stacked. It's quite straightforward. And then this whole area is about setting up a 10 stack for the next boss. I'll walk you through that when in our actual video itself. But basically, you just kind of chain pull these mobs into the urn. You get I think it's like a 7 stack, something around there. And then you run across to here, and you open this urn and refresh it as late as possible in these packs. And hopefully that lets you roll a full duration 10 stack into this boss. From there, we just pull this pack. Of course, this can be dropped, as I mentioned previously, and then you just pretty much W key from there. The big note on percentages is, I believe, here it is. Yeah, 75.3 here, and we're 0.5 ahead. So 74.8 is the ballpark percentage you're looking at before jumping downwards, assuming you're skipping this 3-pack. Okay, that's the main key here, is that if you're skipping this 3-pack, which I highly recommend you do, again, via invis pots or shroud, 74.8 is that percentage you're looking for before going down. Now, let's go walk you guys through our actual video of this. And so right off the top here, of course, we got pre-incarn, and I believe I do recommit incarn as well to this because it is a triple pull. And the key here is a couple things. So one, these skirmishers, try your best here to stop those weapons. I'm not sure if we actually get a stop on a weapon here, because the thrust kind of happens and I have to back up. But ideally, use some sort of stop to get those weapons off you, because they do hurt quite a bit. And of course, when they spawn in partway through a pack, aggro problems specifically on the weapons can happen. As you hear though, I'm just pointing this the Mist Dancer into that corner, stepping out, putting the arrow over there, stepping back into the corner, so the Mist Dancer can point all the slices, the echoing thrusts, into that corner away from everyone else. Meanwhile, the entire party is on this half of the carpet or way back here, the range DPS. So you get this is actually the video where the urn bugged out a little bit, so it didn't actually go off. So yeah, we end up going with 0 stacks into this, but you know, you would have a 10 stack. We shroud here. A little bit of delay there was the confusion. I was like, oh, we don't have a 10 stack. But yeah, you would have a 10 stack and you could do this pull. We're shrouding through. We're doing this pull here. And this is pretty standard. Just going to skip through this. Keep going through all these packs. And we get to the first boss. And this is an extremely difficult boss. Honestly, all the bosses on Tyrannical in this dungeon are kind of rough. This is why Sanguine Depths is one of the scarier Tyrannical dungeons in the game, because every single boss is extremely challenging. And so number one thing here is this is a boss where you can get insane value from the healing. So you're going to see here, of course, we lust on pull. We're going to kill and we're going to use to kind of heal through that first Severing Smash phase. So we just basically just kind of slow kill don't hard focus it, slowly just kind of bring it down to help heal through that. So no one needs to commit major defensives, no one needs to commit major healing throughput CDs, nothing like that needs to be committed for the entire first smash, which really, really helps out on this boss. And also it kind of refreshes your healer's mana bar. They can kind of go nuts before this first smash as well. So overall, very, very good timing. You see here, it's still alive. Here comes that first Severing Smash. And is triggered, and we just soak a bunch. Like, we just soaked two of the orbs into there, and nothing happened. And there you go. All 5 orbs, people barely got below 80%. So that's the power of Make sure, if you can, delay it that long. Very, very good to do so. Other than that, this boss is pretty straightforward. We use the Juggernaut rushes. We group soak them. Rogues, of course, can, like, evasion. You can immunity them as well. And what we're doing outside of that now for all these Severing Smashes is you're going to see us delay or stagger rather defensive usage. So not everyone is going to commit a major defensive each time. Usually we have one person here. Cloak is committed an Astral Shift in this top corner. You can see here, those 2 were committed there. The other 3 people, or 2 people, I guess the other 2 DPSers, held defensive CDs for the next round. So that's kind of how you just stagger those defensive CDs, because if everyone commits their defensive CDs to one section or one set of smashes, then everyone's really safe for that set, but then the next set all of a sudden gets really scary. Staggering those CDs kind of lets it so a couple people are pretty safe on those smashes, and then the healer only needs to focus on a couple other people. So that's kind of the goal of staggering these smashes. We also, I believe we do a kite later on, which you can fast forward and show. Probably after this. Yeah, it's a relative. We could have actually kited one set earlier here. But basically, we all stack up, drop it all down. Actually, I'll rewind so you guys can see the full thing. So we should have called to do this one set earlier, but here it is. We all stack up, we run around, and everyone runs through the boss here. And the key is to make sure that this next Juggernaut rush is targeted away from those orbs, so you don't have the boss actually soak it. Obviously, the boss is extremely low here, so we would have liked to skip an additional set of orbs, and you can kite this boss all the way back to the edge of that hallway, and then put the next set of orbs directly behind that set of orbs, and then kite them back down to this door. That's kind of the strat. We just went a little too late there. So now you're going to see I'm going to run through here, pull everything. I'm stealth, obviously, but if you're just a speedy tank, Brewmaster, you could run right through. You might need a DK might be a little slow. I don't know. You might need someone to go in there and trigger that mob and then bring it back with you. But I just grab everything. LOS. You've watched these swirlies. Of course, they will appear on your way over, and it's just a big AoE fest. AoE stuns. See there, leg sweep, all that things. AoE stops, all those things. We're just chaining this pack down. Kicks as needed. And that's pretty much that. And then you're going to see here, we're going to move to the next. The next is the Urn Pack. So what you're going to see here is that myself and the rogue who is fully tricksing me goes to hit these small gargoyle ads, and that's to make sure threat is nice. Because otherwise, the healer can get threat. The ranged DPS can get threat, right, if they're not in the right spot. So this is just to guarantee that the tank has full threat on these gargoyle ads, because they are kind of slow, and so making sure that they're still on the tank by the time they reach the urn is the number 1 thing here. So you're going to watch both myself and the rogue are going to go in. He's tricksing me, waiting for my Severing Smash to fall off. We go in, we're going to hit these a little bit. You need to be a little careful as the tank, because they do kind of chunk. They don't tickle. See, I'm not really hitting it that much. It's mostly the rogue. And then I just go through here. People are LOSing, going into this pack. And what you can do is drag this over here a little bit closer to the wall, like that. Maybe even a little bit more. Yeah, see, Overseer didn't move quite enough. He needs to be a little bit more in the wall. But we're just going to open this cage here. And the reason we put him in this wall is because the chains, which I believe they might be happening right now, the Overseer chains, you can LOS them. So you can outrange them, you can LOS them. Really, really good for just completely mitigating any damage from that ability. So you want to try and pull him into this edge so he's easy to LOS. Like that. There. Both DPS players don't even get chains even though they're in melee. I'm just kind of chilling here with the chain. It's not the end of the world, especially on Tyrannical. And I just want to keep these mobs stationary. And the Overseer does nothing while someone is still chained. So he's actually just sitting there only doing damage to the tank with the tank chain up. Nothing else happens. So that's little cheat code there. So we have this. We're going into the mini boss room now with our full 10 stack. We're just waiting for bursting. Again, invis pots here if you don't have Shroud. We're going. And then the key here is to move everyone into the left here, because we're going to try and pull this 3-pack into this pack. And so the range need to file into this side of the room because there are 2 scribes and we don't want them to chill out here and just throw books at people that are sitting over here. So we want people to run in and be on this side so they're LOSing so that pack runs straight in. Because y'all be here. I'll pull, the rogue goes to pull. We still have our 10 stack, of course, and we're just dodging these tornadoes. That's the number one thing you want to focus on, dodging those tornadoes. Some reason the pack didn't come, so I believe I tag it here in a second. But basically, this pack's already been in. And then you're just dealing with this pack here. I have to walk a little bit in because it's just a bit awkward timing-wise, but that's kind of how you do it, and it just absolutely melts with this 10 stack. As you can see, like it's not really dangerous at all. The main dangerous part of this entire pack is making sure that tornado is dodged, and outside of that, nothing else is super dangerous in this pack anymore, right? Before, you used to have this pack with either Varuth or our Arcolith, and that was a little spooky, but now without them, you can just add that 3-pack pretty comfortably, especially if you're doing a 10 stack. So, all dies, and we don't care about rolling this buff at all, because right now at this point, we're trying to set up rolling a 10 stack into the boss. That is infinitely more valuable than rolling this 10 stack into another 10 stack. We don't care about that at all, because at this point, like Sanguine Depths, the timer on the trash is not difficult. The timer on the real check in this dungeon is that you are able to kill all the bosses. That's the number one check, and especially the second boss, it is very, very tight. And so the biggest value you can get from these urns is to just straight up use them for bosses. And so here you're going to see I'm going to pull this 3-pack. I'm waiting for the pat to come in. I'll add that as soon as it's not going to also aggro this other pack. We're just killing this quill here. Oh yeah, they keep patting, so we just like, yeah, screw it. We'll add it in now. And the key here is to actually open this pack up as late, or this Venthyr gate up as late as possible. So what I'm doing here is I'm LOSing the scribe so that he comes in. Their movement is just a bit crappy, so I use the LOS here to pull the scribes in. Somehow we got these relics, but that's okay. It's a little bit messy, but our goal here is just to open this up as late in this pack as possible to still get benefit from the stacks, but to kind of ensure that we have as much time as possible to continue killing mobs here in this area. So we're going to get a few stacks here. One thing to note, of course, is that the Warden in this pack, and in all packs actually, don't give stacks for whatever reason. I guess it's probably a bug or something like that, but they continue to not give stacks of the Lantern after a change. I believe it was this season to toys, and a bunch of certain mobs no longer give stacks. Warden, for some reason, even though they're like one of the highest health mobs, is one of them. So just keep that in mind. This Warden's not going to give stacks. So we actually call at some point in this pack to funnel into the Warden. Because again, we have 30 seconds here on this cage. We want to make sure the Warden dies either at the same time or very close to these scribes, or even a little bit earlier. Because these scribes are going to give stacks, this Warden isn't. We want to leave as soon as these stacks are granted to us. So again, that's why killing it very, very even, exactly what we want. And then we go here and we pull a couple packs together here. And again, the goal is to open as late as possible, but this time we don't care about getting these early stacks. Like, we'll kill these mobs, that's fine. What we care about is refreshing this buff as late as possible. So we have 56 seconds to refresh, so we're going to pull as much as we can. And honestly, we could have pulled one extra pack here. So we could have done this and pulled that pack as well to make our lives a little bit easier. But that's just depending on key level, depending on Tyrannical or Fort, right? So we end up opening this a little bit early, and it still works out because we're able to absolutely annihilate this trash. So you see, we still have 34 seconds. So we could have 100% pulled in that 3-pack onto this as well. So just keep that in mind. You want to refresh as late as possible. You don't care about immediately getting to a 10 stack because you're going to get the 10 stack no matter what later on. So just worry about refreshing this buff as late as you can. You see here, this is a bad RNG. We have this Chamber Sentinel, so that's why you see me running all the way through there. If you had an earlier Chamber Sentinel, that could have been in the previous pack, and that's ideal, actually. If you have the Chamber Sentinel in that pull we just did, and then you open the urn on killing the Chamber Sentinel, because that, again, is the highest health mob, I believe, in this entire area. So that's kind of the best case scenario. But you get a nightmare scenario like this where, you know, this is where the Chamber Sentinel is. I have to run now all the way back. This would be a little bit easier with a lock gate, of course. And then we just LOS over here. Volcanic's fun. Grab this last guy, making sure these guys are running in. That's why everyone's LOS'd. Watch those circles, of course, if you get a bad Chamber Sentinel. And here we are, all in the urn, and we're going to just... Basically, our goal here is to get this up to 10 stacks and refresh it just as we're leaving to get to the boss. So you see here, we probably would have had more time on this urn if we had done the pack afterwards that I had pointed out and pulled them in and opened at the end of that pack. Would have had probably another 20 seconds. If we didn't have the bad Chamber Sentinel, that probably would have been another 10-ish seconds because it wouldn't have to run past and all the way back kind of deal, right? So that's just a couple things. This is a little bit variable, so keep that in mind. But overall, again, we're getting the 10 stack here. That's a 0.5 second refresh. We have a little bit of extra time we have to kill these things. Not the end of the world, not 100% ideal, but again, couple different things I just mentioned there can make this even better, but you're still gonna get here about a minute, yeah, almost a full minute of a 10 stack onto this boss with Bloodlust. So that's pretty valuable, and this boss is super scary. I'm pulling that boss from as far away as I can just to get it over here. There's Bloodlust, we're going. So the full Bloodlust is 10 stacked, and this boss gets absolutely smacked. The big thing here is using those personals when you have the Castigate and making sure that you have enough space to not cleave people with the Castigate. If you don't have an ability that cancels it, right? Feign, Vanish, those kind of things. Invis, those will cancel it entirely, but some things like immunities or whatnot, or just major defensives that make you pretty safe, you need to make sure you're away from your friends, otherwise you're going to splash at them. Now what we do here as well is once we get back far enough, I do end up adding this. Oh no, we are back far enough. I do end up adding this 3 stack once that goes past me. I probably could have done this a tad earlier while we still had time on the 10 stack, just to make it a little bit safer. But as I mentioned, if you want to do that second pull near the beginning of the dungeon, you can actually cut this 3-pack out entirely. They do a bunch of extra tank damage, but they kind of let you funnel a little bit more. So that's kind of the reason why we add them into this boss. And especially why we add them in a little bit later, as opposed to right on top with Bloodlust, with all that stuff, where they would just absolutely get annihilated and melt. You could do that as well, but that's basically the choice, right? Is whether or not you're going to add these guys in here, or whether or not you're going to do that pull at the beginning of the dungeon. But basically, outside of the Castigate defensives, you just want to make sure someone has damage for those manifestations, because they do hurt a lot. They hurt a lot. They really, really, really need to die. And that's mostly it for this boss. You just want to burst him down before he bursts you down. That's pretty much the goal. Moving past this guy, though, you have the pack after this boss, which again, this is the one you would also cut alongside that 3-pack we just did with the boss if you're doing that pack at the beginning of the dungeon. But this is basically just these guys combined with these guys in this room over here. That's it. This is the pack. It's a little scary with all the ghouls. You see, I get relatively low because the sun's a little delayed. You basically just want to kite when they're enraged, and you're fine to go back in when they're not. But it is a little spooky, and that's why I'm not 100% convinced that doing all this frenzied ghoul stuff is worthwhile. I'm considering fully moving to that other pull that gives you an extra set of relics, and honestly, the pull is just way less dangerous. So I am kind of leaning towards that other pull, but it's going to need a little bit more testing, especially on higher key, exactly how it actually pans out. But just do keep that in mind. This is how this one works, but the other one may be the go-to. I don't know why I'm going all the way. Oh, I'm getting the Chamber Sentinel. Right. So we didn't get the Chamber Sentinel previously, so we had to make sure we got the Chamber Sentinel here. I believe it's just filled in on one of the packs in the MDT. Let me just double check, but I believe, I assume you get it earlier. Yeah, I put it in this first pack because I assume one of these first two have it, but just do not forget it, okay? If you go like we did and are over here and there's no Chamber Sentinel, make sure you grab it, okay? Make sure you get it. But let's continue. So, and that going down. Pretty straightforward here. Nothing super weird about this trash. This boss, though, this boss is another rough one. Back-to-back rough ones, right? I mean, back-to-back, I guess. So the big thing here is here. Let's see. Again can be used to heal up the first kind of torment. So keep that in mind. The main thing here is we've kind of divided the room into sections where each person has their own section that they're going to be getting orbs from. There's the Warlock there, Shaman's there. There's a couple around the boss here, and then the Rogue went that way, and I think the Monk went over here. So the room is basically divided. We've pre-divided this room. And here's the Torment, there's the and it was a second late, you see. We were just a second late on the maybe 2 seconds late. A tad bit faster. It's okay if the dies, even if 5 seconds faster. Like if the died, like at this point, like if the was dead here, it'd be just fine, right? Everyone would get healed up fully. You wouldn't have to worry about this torment tick killing people, right? So a little bit faster on that but you can see how much value you would have gotten from that if it was like 2 to 3 seconds faster. Just keep that in mind. Very, very good. Very dangerous, of course, but very strong if you can do it right, and allows you to hold defensives as well as healing CDs. Main thing for tanks, of course, is just making sure you have something for all these iron spikes. And then it's the exact same as the first boss, where we stagger CDs. So you see here, the Rogue just kind of AFK on the boss. He's not going for orbs at all. He pops Cloak. Perfectly fine. Staggered the CDs. Astral Shift again, popped. So the next one, you're going to see the Monk pop CDs. You're going to see the Warlock pop CDs, defensives. And that lets them either take no orbs if you're doing a big immunity, like the Rogue did, right? He can take 0 orbs, which means everyone else can take more orbs. Or it lets you take like 1 less orb, for example. Like Astral Shift means the Shaman can take 1 less orb. That means everyone can get a bunch of orbs, all nice and safe. And so this boss is even more beneficial to stagger your defensives, because one person popping a defensive is also like giving someone else a DR, because you can take 1 less orb. So keep that in mind. Very, very powerful. See, like their Monk CDs are rolling as a defensive there. Allows someone else to pick up more. Popping out here to heal, because again, this damage is rough. It's full movement damage. And that's like one of the scarier parts where you're going to lose people. But yeah, you need to maintain that rotation of defensives, that positioning of where people generally know where to go to get orbs. And you can get some bad RNG, right? Sometimes, yeah, this general area just won't get orbs, right? He has to go like here and here and stuff. So just keep that in mind. You need to move a little bit sometimes. But, you know, being vocal with your defensive usage, with your how many orbs you're taking, and with your movement here to make sure you get enough orbs to live is very, very important for this boss. Let's move past him here. All right, first pull. We just pull it back. You can pull it on top of where it is too, but find this to be a little bit easier. I think I almost forget the shield here, so don't do that. Forgetting the shield is bad. The shield is very beneficial for the rest of the dungeon, so don't miss that. But this pack, nothing special. And we just go through, we shroud, or you can invis. This is me forgetting the shield. And then we have the Gauntlet. And so make sure this first pull is like the scariest pull in the Gauntlet, I think. You're doing it without the Venthyr buff. Of course, the Venthyr buff comes afterwards. And we double pull for time. So go in. You can insta-drop this Shining Radiance shield, and you should, just for that extra DR on pull, and just big CDs here. blowing everything up. Note that these cadets will do all affixes. So if this was a Sanguine week, these cadets will drop Sanguine. Keep that in mind. These cadets are going to burst here. So just, again, those cadets, they're real mobs. They do all the affixes. We're doing just cleaving boss here. It is Tyrannical week, so this call has a ton of HP, and what we're basically waiting for here is that explosion at 100 energy, and at that point we're going to leave to the next area, even though call has 5%. This was rough because of we didn't kill fast enough, so you saw that overlap there. That was very scary, right? Like, we all almost died. We had the and the call slam at the same time, and this literally did save our life, but also please don't do that. That was so scary. So make sure you kill very quickly in that pack as well. So we come into this cubby next, and the goal here again is to just get as many stacks as possible. It's not as important here to get like these stacks in, because you get an infinite supply of Gargans, which will give you stacks. So it's not the end of the world if you just delay this. You lose these mobs, it's fine. So we get this open. All will reset at 90%, so keep that in mind. He's going to run back here and reset threat as well. Do not you know, insta get threat and die kind of thing. Just be DPS players, be prepared. If you have CDs rolling for this when call resets, note that there's a good chance that you're going to get call aggro initially, so be careful. Otherwise, we're just kind of staying in this cubby, continuously pulling things in. And we're going to start running later on here. We're just going to refresh the stack a couple times. We're not even at 10 stacks yet. So we're going to cleave all these acolytes down, LOSing here to pull them in. And we're going to refresh, I believe, on these Gargans, then we might leave. Not 100% sure. Let's see. But this would probably be an ideal time to leave. Oh, we're waiting for the energy. We're waiting for the energy cast again, right. We're going to refresh on these Gargans. Bloom Skull goes off. And we should be going soon. We're going to try and refresh one more time, I guess. There it is. We refresh on that Gargan. And we dip. I think we could have left earlier, to be completely honest with you. We didn't need to refresh there. We could have gone right after the explosion. But then we're going to pull this pack again. Call will reset aggro. Pull that pack up there. Pull it all together. Call is going to get over here soon with no aggro table. So be careful of that. Pulling it all into this pack. You got 10 stacks. Looks kind of big. Looks kind of scary. It's not that bad. Watch the fissures, of course, and watch that explosion if it overlaps with Call's blast. Just you see, we're killing that much faster in this pull than the previous one because of our the experience we just had. So killing this pack, not much to say here. Cleaving it down, and this route does not involve bats, right? There is a route that involves pulling a bat as it flies by whenever you're in this area. We don't do that here. So we're just going through. Stuff starts getting low. I just continue on. Chain pull. Falls like 0.5% from being dead. And we just kind of go into the boss here. And call is, I think we're waiting for mana yet. So you can actually press this initially right on pull as well. Just keep that in mind. I normally forget. You can though. You do have time. See there, just 27 seconds on the Gloom Skull. So you can press it on pull just like all the other times. But not really necessary, but something a little thing you can do. Other than that, the main thing on this boss is dodging wicked rushes. The bleed. So you can still fully dodge them if you use like a movement ability, or you're just moving fast enough when the actual charge goes out, especially for the second person there. Like the shaman there, fully dodge the damage. No ticking is going out on the shaman. So if you just move fast enough, I think just in Ghost Wolf form, no damage. So that's the big thing, especially in high tyrannical. Having a bleed, even just like one stack of the bleed, can be insanely dangerous for you. Like look how much that took 50% of his health when he got hit by it. Like it's an insane amount of damage, and getting hit by one or having multiple people get hit by one is actually extremely scary and something you kind of want to avoid as much as possible. So really mastering dodging those wicked rushes, like spreading out and having the speed like that, see, and just managing to avoid the wicked rushes as much as possible is extremely important. Outside of that though, this boss fight is just kind of long. Boss positioning here also to help with that wicked rush dodging could be better, I think. So you see here I'm kind of dancing on the edge and moving across. What I should probably be doing is doing all my dancing in this corner here, and that will leave up this whole platform for people to dodge the wicked rush, so they have much longer distances to run. kind of deal, and you could just always go back and forth between these two or the other direction, those two in that corner. So that's probably where it should be. And then you just kind of reset to the middle when the Gloom Squall is coming up, so you're able to kind of walk to wherever she is. Don't just sit in that corner, otherwise you kind of be screwed if she's over there or the far side. But that's probably the place to be, is like this corner over here. But there we have it, guys. Sanguine Depths, Advanced Encrypted Routing. Hopefully, you guys learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below, or come stop by my Twitch channel at Tactics, and I'll do my best to answer. Of course, I do a bunch of streams, Mythic Plus, high keys from a tank perspective, and also Mythic rating, so would love to have you guys come and hang out. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.